Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by a YouTuber, former fashion model, lumberjack, and now a comedian. Home of his spirit veggies, carrots, and out on tour now with his German efficiency tour. We welcome Mario Adrion.
Thank you so much. I love the former lumberjack too. That's awesome.
Mario, let's go beyond the mic. Last year, you got engaged, started stand-up, and took a trip back to the motherland. What's the biggest misconceptions people have about you?
Oh, about me? It is that I'm quite sensitive. You know, people look at me and they think I'm an absolute douchebag, you know, because of the way I look. I love breaking the stereotypes. And then also the misconception about, you know, Germans not being funny. That's something I want to fight, you know, because Germans are obviously not known for being comedians. I don't know if you've ever met or know of any German comedians, but I don't. So I love breaking these stereotypes and proves that the Germans are also funny people. Yeah.
Now, you destroyed Katy Perry in a catwalk battle on American Idol. What was the experience like before the battle?
It was crazy because I went there. I mean, I was also wearing a Speedo, which is, you know, it's a bold move, some might say, on a show like American Idol. I can't sing, so I was like, okay, I have to overcompensate for my lack of singing abilities with, you know, wearing a Speedo. And before I went into the audition with Katy Perry, I genuinely didn't know what was going to happen. They did not prepare me. They did not tell me there was going to be a catwalk battle. I think neither did Katy Perry. It all happened very spontaneously in the moment. And I was just afraid because I thought especially Luke Bryan was going to be a little thrown off by the Speedo. I thought he was going to feel weirded out by it. But he loved it, man. He was super supportive. They're all very fun. And yeah, it was a crazy experience. I love that everything just happened spontaneously and it was all improvised.
Yeah, most people are put off by the Speedo.
You know what? Not so much in Europe, because in Europe we are, you know, it's just more aerodynamic. You know, it's better for swimming. And I don't know. It's just, you know, Europe, our shorts are shorter. You know, people always ask me, is he gay or European? You know, because I wear like short shorts at the gym and like Speedo, stuff like that. But it's truly a European thing. You don't wear Speedos?
I could never wear a Speedo ever.
Okay.
How did performing comedy change you? And do you ever think, wow, I'm glad I'm not an engineer?
Yeah, I mean, it changed me in a way where I love that I can just be silly now, because as an engineer, you would have to be very serious and stoic. You know, we Germans don't show a lot of emotion. I think we don't show emotions as Germans because it's very energy inefficient to show emotions. You know, so we Germans, we don't laugh. Yeah? When you tell a German a joke, we're like, oh, this is funny joke. Yeah, but then instead of laughing, we suppress the energy and the laughter, and we use it to make better cars. You know, so I wouldn't have been able to laugh or make jokes as an engineer. So it's very different. Sometimes I do miss a little bit of the consistency I would have. Because, you know, when you're an engineer in Germany, and I did study to become an engineer actually before I started modeling, and I loved it. I love chemistry. I love math. I love all that stuff. And yeah, it's just like you have a very stable job. You know, a lot of security, a lot of certainty. But you know, I'm actually I'm happy that I have a bit of adventure where I don't know exactly what's going to happen in a couple of weeks, and yeah, it's very unpredictable, which has good and bad sides to it.
Mario, who are the comedians that influenced you growing up?
That's a fantastic question, because the truth is, I didn't ever watch comedy in Germany because it's truly not a thing. There aren't any stand-up comedians. I mean, we did watch American movies, and we had like Robin Williams. We know these people as actors, Kevin Hart, all these people, right? Eddie Murphy. But stand-up is not an art form that originated in Germany at all. It's truly an American thing, right? It started in America, and I didn't have any like idol to look up to, because German comedy is also very different. It's much more cabaret. It's very political, and people have like these almost characters, right? They're not just like, Dave Chappelle is just Dave Chappelle, and that's his perspective on the world as him, you know? And in Germany, it's like every guy who's like a comedian is like, oh, hello, I'm this comedian from Germany. Yeah, I have this like crazy fro and like an outfit, more like Carrot Top, you know, more like proppy character comedy, not stand-up per se. So yeah, I didn't look or watch or consume stand-up until I started stand-up comedy when I came to America, which is a very uncommon thing for most comics, because everybody's like, oh, I watched Eddie Murphy when I was like, 6 years old, and wanted to be a comedian ever since. For me, that was not it. I started late.
Mario Adrion, comedian on the German Efficiency Tour. He joins us beyond the mic for the Rockin' 8. Mario, all this is 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There is absolutely no pressure.
Okay, let's go.
Your first tattoo was of what and where?
Okay, my first tattoo was I got a carrot tattooed on my butt, which was for a YouTube video I made because I lost a bet to my friend. Yeah.
What bet did you lose?
Well, so we made this video where we had to... So basically, it was like I had to make a video where Instagram controlled my life, and that was like I lost the bet. Like we did a video, Instagram controlled my life. So everything Instagram told me, I made these polls on Instagram, and I had to do whatever the majority. It was like a democracy, like whatever they would tell me to do, I had to do. And then the challenge was getting a carrot tattooed on my butt, and the carrot's name's Jeff. And yeah,
the best beer in the world is what?
Best beer is Alpirsbacher Klosterbräu. That's from my hometown. My hometown is Alpirsbach im Hochschwarzwald, if you guys want to look it up. It's a beautiful small town in the south of Germany. And I used to work at that brewery. When I was like 14 years old, I was carrying boxes of beer, throwing away old beer. And that was my job. It's it won the World Beer Award like 2 years in a row. And it's from my hometown, yeah.
Your wife is a fashion designer. Has she ever clothes checked you and said, no?
Every single day. Because the thing is, I used to be a model, but I was never that into fashion. I like dressing a bit more casually. I like wearing, sweatpants that look a little dressy. But I'm always going comfort over how fashionable it is. So often I would leave the house and she'd be like, "Is that what you're wearing?" With a little passive aggressive, judgmental tone. And then we go back, and she then dresses me. And you know what? It's been weird for me in the beginning because she actually put me more more avant-garde kind of clothes, which was awkward for me at first. But I like it. I've been getting a lot of compliments. It's just sometimes I want to dress up. I have the tendency to sometimes dress down because I feel like I already look like a douchebag. So I want to not look too fashionable because then I don't feel like I'm relatable. When I'm around my male comic friends and stuff like that. But she told me, "Hey, just be yourself, do your thing," and she definitely added to my fashion level.
If you had to create 3 chapters for your diary or journal, what would they be titled?
Okay, first chapter would be lumberjack, because I grew up, like you said, as a lumberjack in Germany. My whole family were all like I was helping them chop wood in the forest, very wholesome. The second step would be, well, funny enough, before I started modeling, I was a kiwi picker in New Zealand. So that's how I actually started traveling the world. I went to New Zealand for a year and did a bunch of odd jobs. I was a kiwi picker. I was a shirtless bartender at some point for a bachelorette party. So I did a bunch of odd jobs. So maybe it would be like kiwi picker, the second one. And then the last chapter would be, comedian, truly. I mean, modeling is somewhere in there too. But then like from lumberjack to
shirtless bartender
to now comedy. Yeah, shirtless is also in the realm of like modeling because I did a lot of speedo modeling, underwear modeling, and now a more respectable, career where I can keep my pants on, which I appreciate.
Funniest movie you've ever seen?
I would have to see. I would have to say Zoolander, just because that's the life I was living as a male model in New York. That's truly an accurate depiction of what modeling is like. So yeah, I love that movie.
Who was the last person to call you a troublemaker?
Call me a troublemaker. You know what? I think I'm not a troublemaker. It's so funny. Like I'm a very, I'm German. I follow the orders. I'm very agreeable. I'm not very rebellious. Let me think. Who would call me a troublemaker? Possibly my wife. She's like a bit more confrontational, a bit more judgmental about me. Like when I do things for YouTube videos, like getting a butt tattoo, that's something that she would call me out for. But other than that, I was always a very good, agreeable kid. I'm a good German. Yeah.
My wife wants to know, how many hours a day do you work out?
Interesting. Not that much. I work out about 3 times a week. And I just walk a lot. I'm very active. And I just eat very clean. That's truly what it is. I love carrots. I feel like I've kept some of the European diet and have not fully adapted to the American diet yet, which probably helped me stay in better shape. But yeah, it's pretty. Yeah.
So what's your cheat day food?
Cheat day food would be, I love bread pudding. Man, that's an American thing that we don't have in Europe, but bread pudding is truly, I love it. We just don't have it, and I've never seen this before. Also, I love diners. I tell everybody about this. Like, I love diners so much because it's truly something we don't have in Germany. It's like, when we watch movies about America, it's like these movies where you're in a high school uniform and you're at a diner and you have a milkshake with 2 straws and you fall in love. And that's what I grew up with. So I love diners just because it has that nostalgic element, and we don't have it in Germany. I think I look at diners like you guys in America look at castles in Europe. You're like, oh my God, the castles are beautiful. And I'm like, oh no, Denny's. That's it. Like the booth, the breakfast, the laminated like menu.
Out on the German efficiency tour, Mario Adrion be on the mic. Mario, how is that standard day different than when you were a model?
Interesting. So when I would be a model, I would wake up. First thing I would do, I would count my abs in the mirror. Check that they're all still there. And then I'd be stressed out because I only have 5 abs, and there's some dude out there with like 14 abs. There's a lot of very competitive, and then I have to go to castings, and it's just like running around all the time. Now it's a bit more chill. Now I wake up, I sit down, I make some green tea, and I write comedy. So it's a more relaxed way of living, and not as focused on just being good looking, because that's a lot of stress on you. Like definitely kind of messed up my body image a little bit. So yeah, I like it a lot more now.
Best place you were ever a model in, and where was the worst?
Best place, I would say Singapore.
Whoa!
Singapore was amazing. Singapore and Southeast Asia, because they just treated you like royalty. It was amazing. We had these model apartments, and everybody was so fun. It was people from all over the world. I lived with one Australian dude, with one Canadian dude, one guy from South Africa, and one guy from Ireland. So my accent was completely messed up. I picked up all these different accents, but it was super fun because they paid me very well. I did very well there in terms of modeling, and we went to these like model dinners. Everything was paid for. It was like a taste of living like a celebrity. It was really fun. Everyone was super nice. Worst place to model in, probably Milan, Italy, because dude, Italians, they were just rude. There's one guy, my agent. My biggest insecurity was having a bit of a round face as a model. And my agent, Riccardo, this Italian guy, he looked at me and he goes, Mario, your body look okay, but your face, you look like a chubby baby. Like they would just to my face, yeah. So like it's a little rough in Italy because they sound so nice with the Italian accent, mamma mia, but like they just say the most hurtful things where they just make you feel like an object. So that was tough in Italy. But beautiful country, but tough for modeling. I
thought you'd get picked on for the gap in between your teeth, but that's so mean.
No, the gap between my teeth actually helped for modeling. I was bullied for it in school. I have a gap between my front teeth, and I always hated it. But then when I started modeling, I learned that it's actually an asset. Model is because it's like a unique feature. It's like who else? Madonna has it, I think, and a couple more people. So it actually helped.
So, what's your biggest dream?
You know what? People ask me about this. They think like acting would be a natural thing. For me, it's just comedy, man. Truly, like I love comedy, and I don't do comedy to do acting. I just do comedy to do comedy. I just want to go on this tour. Want to take the tour to Europe next year once I get my green card and can travel again. I want to take it to the motherland of Germany, and I'm just so excited. Yeah, stand up. That's it, man. Want to go all over the U.S., small towns, see as many diners as possible.
How about your typical order at a diner?
I love pancakes. It's just, because we don't have pancakes for breakfast. It's like, it's also pancakes not that common. It's also the difference. But then I'm still pretty healthy. I'll order like, sometimes even the dinners at a diner, like the turkey, like a Thanksgiving food. It's just so American, like turkey thing with gravy and mashed potatoes. And then something sweet with it. Yeah.
What's your biggest nightmare?
Biggest nightmare? Jeez, let me think about that. Being not on time. I hate it so much because I feel like I make so many jokes online about being punctual and that we Germans are more efficient. I make all these jokes about it. For example, like I always make this joke about Americans, you guys, I hate when Americans tell me, hey bro, I'll see you later. And I'm like, tell me what time, I need to know exactly what time. So after having made all these jokes, I would hate to be late because when I'm late, people are definitely going to hold it against me because I'm like, wait, you make so much fun of us for being late and now you're late. So like that's always a fear mark.
Vulnerability is difficult for most people. Why is it important for you to allow yourself to be vulnerable and be an open listener for other people's vulnerable moments?
Because I think as men especially, we do so much better if we just talked about our emotions. I think a lot of men we can be dicks sometimes because we are just not expressing what we feel, and then we feel angry and we act out and all this stuff. So I'm just a big fan of that. I talk about it with modeling. I had some issues with sexual harassment when I was a model, and I openly talk about it. It's not easy, but I see how many men have been inspired to be more honest about their feelings, and I think it's very important for the world. I believe in that. Even as men, being able to talk about your feelings with your best friend, with your bro. Bromance is something I believe in. Just like women can have close and emotional connections and conversations, I think men should do the same.
It's time for the hardest question ever for Mario Adrion on his German efficiency tour, Beyond the Mic. How did you overcome being harassed, bullied, and assaulted as a model? And how did that change you? And how did you overcome that adversity?
Yeah, so when it first happened, when I first dealt with sexual harassment and stuff like that, I just didn't, because I was still a model, I couldn't really let it affect me, because this is my career. I depend on it. If I didn't have modeling, and if I called these people out, or if I said something, then, it would have affected my modeling career. So I didn't talk about it for a long time, until I finally talked about it with a friend of mine who had the same experience as me. And when I told him, I started crying, and I was like, oh, wow, there's more there to process. And I made a video on YouTube, talked about the experience, and it was very scary. The most scary video I've ever posted was talking about that experience. But seeing how many men were inspired by that, men and women actually, and were inspired to be more honest and truthful about their emotions, then I started healing and from the experience, because I was like, wow, this actually now has a positive impact, because if I don't talk about it, it's just me and I suppress it, then, it doesn't help anybody. But if I actually openly talk about it, I was able to help some people and inspire some people to be more vulnerable. And that, to me, makes the whole experience make sense, because there was a positive outcome in helping people.
Let's talk family. How has your parents helped and guided and loved you growing up?
It's funny you say that. There wasn't a lot of it, because my mom is a very German mom, My dad's very sweet. My parents broke up when I was young, but my mom, even when I started modeling, I was like, hey, Mom, I will be a male model. My mom looked at me and she was like, Mario, you're not even that pretty. She told me that she didn't think I have what it takes.
Mom!
I know. That is true. Yeah, I know. But you know what? On the flip side, I think it inspired me to actually make it happen, because I was like, you know what, Mother? I will prove you wrong. I will show you that I can do it. So yeah, no, my parents were super independent. They just let me do my thing. Germans were more hands off when it comes to raising kids. We're not as protective over our kids. Kids travel at a young age. I'm just very grateful for my parents to let me travel at a young age. When I was 15, I went to Peru for 1 year, went on tons of student exchanges, traveled a lot, which made me grow up and become very independent. So yeah.
You say, quote, never take life too seriously, end quote. Yeah. What caused you to come to this conclusion?
Well, because when I was a model, I would always be so serious. I was like, I have to put on my blue steel look and be this cool model that's always grumpy and kind of looks angry. And I was like, you know what, that's stupid. So one day I went into the casting room and I just started saying, it's me, Mario. And I started being silly. And I realized that once I became sillier and it was more authentic to me, I started booking more jobs. People around me had a good time. And I just believe so much in the power of silliness. Because if you're silly, it just makes everybody's lives better. You also get more opportunities as a result of that. And it makes life more fun, because I think sometimes we're too serious and we try to fit into these boxes of you have to be a serious man, or you're a CEO, or you're a father or something. But I was like, no, let's just all be silly. I think life's going to be more fun.
Who taught you to live beyond the norm, and how has the concept of normalcy changed for you?
Again, it's traveling. It's truly traveling, because when I was in Germany, it was hard for me to break out of the norm, because when you're in you're in a small town, no matter if you're in America or Germany or wherever, being in a small town is always keeps you a little bit more narrow-minded, because you want to conform. It's a very natural thing, right? You want to be accepted by people. But once I started traveling, I realized, wow, there's so many ways to live life. And once I came to, specifically when I went to New York, I realized, wow, there's so many people living such different lives and they seem happy. And when I saw those people do it, there was an example for me to do the same thing. And truly traveling, I think traveling is the most important thing in the world. I think the best education, I've learned more on my travels than school could have ever taught me. So truly, it's traveling, seeing new perspectives. 7
years ago, you were able to meet your cousin and her 2 kids. How did that experience prepare you to be a dad?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a father yet, but hopefully in the future, it's I love kids. I love spending time with them. It's funny though, because I feel like I've met a lot of American kids. They seem a lot more involved. Because German kids, they're very like, they don't really talk to you. They're just like very German. They're just like, okay, I will just follow the orders. I will do as I'm told. And they're not they don't act out as much. But I now met my wife's nieces and nephews. So it was very cool. Yeah. So now that my life is more, now that I'm not a model anymore, traveling the world, I think it's a more stable environment to have a kid. Because when you're modeling, you don't want to. It's tough to have a kid when you're modeling. Having to starve yourself for modeling jobs, going all over the world.
So, what are the things that you want to share with your kids?
Got it. Okay. Well, so I think again, just like having lived in Europe, having lived in America, I think when it comes to that, I can take the best of both worlds. Right. When it comes to education. Just having gone through all this stuff, like even having gone through like the sexual harassment and all the experiences, like that can help me to raise kids with values like, again, vulnerability, all this stuff. I think I can now take in, the values I've learned in this crazy journey of like doing modeling and YouTube and now stand up. I think gives me more well-rounded view that I can, take on to raise kids.
It's time for some big questions with Mario Adrion. His German efficiency tour is out right now. You had a near-death experience recently. Mm-hmm. You told your dad you loved him. Why was that so important for you? And why was it so powerful for your relationship?
Yeah, it was very powerful. I was on a plane and near death. Yeah, I thought I was going to die. Everybody on the plane was like there was like a loud noise. The plane started going down and everybody started screaming and we're all convinced we're going to die. And at that moment I was like, oh wow, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm just regretting that I never told my dad I loved him. Which is a very German thing. It's not uncommon because saying "Ich liebe dich" in German is such a strong, it holds much more weight than in America. Because if I go to LA, everybody's like, "Oh my God, I love you." Oh my God, it's like a lot more common to say "I love you" there. So I told my dad, and it was like it was impactful, man. It's something we Germans don't do a lot, and especially also as men, I think some American men might have the same fear of like telling somebody you love them because it might, you might feel like you seem weak or you seem like maybe you get rejected. So that's definitely a legit fear. But it helped me be more vulnerable. I'm very grateful for the experience and made the relationship with my dad a lot better. I've always had a great relationship with him, just not as we just didn't say I love you. We knew we loved each other. We just have never said it. But saying it really does a lot.
So what makes you laugh, Mario?
Americans? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, I make a lot of fun of Americans, It's just like, I don't know, what makes me laugh? Let me think about that. I love darker humor too. I think comedy we should be able to laugh about anything. Maybe also because I'm German, maybe everything's a little darker. Obviously we have a lot of guilt as Germans. But yeah, even like darker stuff, like I talk a lot about German guilt, more serious topics. Things about like, shooting guns in America, stuff like that. I think if it's true, it makes me laugh. Like if there's a truth to it, right? Like talking about German guilt, to me, it's funny because there's so much truth to that, like that guilt we all feel as Germans. So whenever there's tension, there is more laughter, right? You can talk about like, fart jokes, something superficial. It doesn't get me as much as some really deep stuff that's true to somebody. And when I connect emotionally with them, then it makes me laugh more.
How about the best thing about your wife?
I love her because she's also silly. That's truly what it is. Like she's very beautiful and she could be a very, I don't want to curse on here, but I'm saying like she looks like a mean girl, No, she's just so silly, just like me. And I couldn't date somebody who takes themselves too seriously. She just wants to play. I feel like I'm dating my best friend. We're like two 12-year-olds just playing together. That's my favorite thing, that silliness.
Mario, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so MarioAdrion.com is my website. That's where I have all my tour dates. And also there's a little thing too, you can put in your city and your state and your email. So I'm going to send you a message when I come to your city. And when people sign up, I know that I'm going to do a show in that city as well. So yeah, MarioAdrion.com is the best way.
He loves pancakes in a diner, watching Zoolander, and has a carrot tattooed on his butt. Don't ask. On the German efficiency tour, Mario Adrion, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
And that, my friends, is a Beyond the Mic shortcut. If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.